Jeremy, let's shift gears a little bit and talk scouting here, because we saw something on Twitter today that was shared, and back in the day, the way that scouting was done to me is quite hilarious, and it comes down to how, explain to me why a scout would care how good looking a player is, because if we take a look at this is Cal Ripken Jr. scouting report that was shared as a pitcher. And if you can see this, it's a little blurry, but it says no glasses or known injuries, built like a handsome Jim Palmer. And I'm just trying to figure out why that was so impactful to Cal Ripken Jr.'s scouting report.
First of all, I think it's always interesting to see a Hall of Fame shortstop have a scouting report as a pitcher where it says he probably shouldn't play short, right? I think that's just so beautiful about our game in the first place. Okay, that's an awesome thing about it, about how subjective this is. But credit to the scout for getting him right, because he got him in there somehow, right? Cal went in, and that rest is history. So what I would say about the good looks, I think that's more about painting a picture. Now, if I'm Jim Palmer, I'm a little upset, because I'm on TV and I'm thinking I got some good looking myself, right? But no, when it comes to that, I think it's more of a the fans are going to love him. He's easy on the eyes. Everybody's going to have a good time. I think that was more the point of it. You got to love the visual that paints for you, though, right? And I think that's big part of the scouting picture is painting the visual.
Yeah. So then, kind of leading into it, because that's the funny part, that's the goofy part of it. But then you were looking at it right there. There was worrying about mobility, and that was something even a lot of the guys or a lot of the scouts when my dad was coming up, they wanted him to pitch. They wanted him to be a pitcher, and actually Earl Weaver, when the Orioles drafted my dad, he was really the one that said, I think we should let him play short and see what happens. So I guess for you, what is something then when you went through the scouting process for yourself of evaluating players, and you might have multiple things here, but what are some things that stick with you with trying to identify a player or makes them stick out in your eyes?
Well, the first thing that happens when you see a player is obviously the physical test, and that's outlined in that report, the eye test, or what that looks like. The second thing is going to be, and it depends on the scout. So it's kind of 2A and 2B, right? It's how the approach to the game is, how does he show up, what's the makeup, how does he interact with his teammates, and the tools. Now, for the argument's sake, we'll say 2A is going to be, all the intangible stuff we talked about. Well, if there's zero tools, the intangibles are great, but there's zero tools, right? If the tools are there and the instincts are high, the separator there is going to be important. If a guy's got, let's say, lesser tools, in this case, mobility, right? But he has great instincts, and he has baseball IQ, and he has great execution, and he has actions, and he has all the things that go with that to make up for maybe, let's say, a less mobile approach. Well, it doesn't mean he can't play short at all, right? It may mean he makes a routine play. It may mean that he goes to his left better than his right. You position guys differently, but when it comes to that, you have to find a place for him to fit. Earl Weaver was right, though. It worked out. It worked out okay, right? So looking at those type of instincts was the separator. Now, if neither one are present, you're not interested. Less instincts means more tools, just much like a pitcher. Less command, less feel means more velocity. More feel, more execution, more ability to change speeds, keep guys off balance, less velocity needed, right? So it just depends. So it's really about how they fit into a role and how they paint a picture. But a guy like that has let's just say their average major league tools across the board, and that's plus instincts, can end up a Hall of Famer.
I do like these last comments about his plays shortstop, but lack of fluid mobility will limit prospect here. Live arm, excellent. What is that? Command of
command of curveball.
Yeah. Intense desire to play father's influence. What is that? Rate change?
Rate chance. Really, it means that because of the bloodlines, right, and the history in the game, that he has a chance to have better instincts, but also there's a chance to sign, right? A lot of what you're doing in there in those reports, at least that era of reports, which are typewritten or handwritten, and certainly the ones that I started with, was you had to project how much you would pay him and how much it would take, right? So sometimes won't always match up. I think in there's a bonus number, right? I pay him for X number, right? There was a number in there somewhere. So I mean, if you're looking at that, that's what that means. I think with the bloodlines of the family, obviously Cal Sr., right? Obviously, Billy's younger, right? Correct?
Yep.
Billy's younger. So,
Yep.
the bloodlines of the family said that there's a better chance that he was going to sign. And he did, right? Certainly for an organization like the Orioles, which there was history already, right? So when you do those things, I think that's what the scout was doing. The best part about being a scout in my era and the era today, as I've obviously transitioned to other things besides going to the ballpark every day, I would say this: those guys didn't have the experience and Rolodex and libraries that we do. They had to do a lot of different stuff. They had to go see different players. It was all on them. There wasn't a whole lot of cross-checking or different looks or collaboration. It was really, really, really tough to do. For all the moaning that we do today about how hard it is, man, we got analytics, we got Rapsodo, we got TrackMan, we got video angles, we got cumulative stats, we got college conferences, right? We got replay, we have bloggers. Like, they didn't have any of that stuff. They get to go back, and if you're second guessing yourself as a scout today, you just go turn on the TV. Hey, they like that guy. I'm going to go ahead and say I like that guy too. And no one's going to say anything to you, But back then they couldn't do that. So guys like me had the benefit of scouts like that had to really do it all on their own and get out there and see players. And the fact that he got them right, honestly, is a minor miracle with the way things were going back in those years. So, there's a lot of fun to be had with scouting reports like that. Those are really cool to see as far as the history of the game. But yeah, it was. I think the Orioles made a pretty good selection.